I just fed him a whole bag of Subway sandwiches.
Subway has been around a while, and when they first hit the scene, they offered a fresh alternative on fast food. However, after years of flubs and self-inflicted wounds, this franchise has gone a little stale. So here are 10 mistakes that will haunt Subway forever.
I'll be in my office going over the books on my Subway sandwich franchise.
Such a thing as bad publicity.
Bad idea! Oh, no, bad idea!
You might be thinking, what's wrong with beautiful women in bikinis? Usually nothing at all, but if you're trying to sell sandwiches to women, you might want to think it through a little. The marketing executives at Subway were apparently surprised when many women didn't react well to being told that they should start eating Subway sandwiches right away so they would be able to fit into bathing suits and tiny Halloween costumes. Given that women are more than 50% of the population in the US, women are likely a big slice of the fast food chain's customer base. So why did it go out of its way to offend?
I mean, come on, what were you thinking?
Clearly, the advertising team missed the mark with this one. Did they really think the average woman would appreciate the gentle prodding? Most people already know when they need to lose a few pounds and know they aren't ready to slip into last summer's bathing suit. But the last place they want to hear it from is a fast food restaurant that sells meatball and Italian subs. Let's face it, Subway doesn't care if we lose weight as long as we eat more of their sandwiches. The company apologized for this big fact error, but the damage was already done. Missing the target.
Like a poor marksman, you keep missing the target.
Identifying and cultivating the right customers are fundamental parts of a successful marketing strategy for any company. So it must have come as something of a shock to Subway when the marketing executives realized they had been focusing on a customer base that didn't really exist. To add insult to injury, Subway didn't discover this problem on its own. It was pointed out to them by a business publication. When Subway first started, the lack of competition allowed them to have a customer base that were willing to eat Subway sandwiches at the given prices because there were few convenient alternatives for a quick and relatively healthy sandwich at a reasonable price.
Not look so good is because there's no competition.
However, times have changed, and it is now easy to get a cheap sandwich anywhere because there is so much more competition in 2019. Think of all the fast food chains with value menus and other promotions. The other problem with selling sandwiches is that customers can decide to spend a lot less to buy their own ingredients and make their sandwiches at home. This has hurt Subway pretty badly because there are no easy answers. The company will still be in a bind. Even if it drops its prices, it will always be cheaper to make your own sandwiches if that's what people decide they want to do. Same old, same old.
Some things never change.
Take away all the fancy logos, glitzy marketing, and enticing promotions, and what any fast food restaurant is left with is the menu. The menu is a restaurant's bread and butter and can spell success or doom over the long run. Everybody knows that Subway makes sandwiches, and they don't expect the chain to reinvent the wheel, but customers do expect some creativity. Subway is known for its classics like the spicy Italian, Black Forest ham, meatball, and chicken teriyaki. These are all good sandwiches, but it's enough already.
Well, I've had enough.
These classics may be popular with loyal customers, but they aren't necessarily going to draw in new customers with the basic varieties that the chain has featured for years. Tastes have changed quite a bit in the 30 years since Subway arrived on the fast food scene. Even with many of its sandwiches featuring highly processed cold cuts, these sandwiches were healthier than much of the competition. However, customers have become much more aware of the healthy choices that are available and demand these choices even from the fast food chains. There is only so much Subway can do because, after all, it makes sandwiches, and sandwiches are pretty familiar ground for most people. Expand and die?
This franchise plan sucks!
The Subway expansion reached its high water mark in 2015 when it was reported that the sandwich chain had more store locations than even the juggernaut McDonald's. The number of Subway stores reached 44,000 around the globe, and the company was moving forward with plans to expand this number to a whopping 100,000 stores. So what happened to these ambitious plans? What happened was that reality finally set in for them.
This is just a reality check. heck?
And the company's executives realized too late that managing an increasing number of stores is a very difficult thing to do well. If it weren't so difficult, wouldn't other more successful and experienced chains have already done it? It turned out that maintaining the quality of its employees and of its food became increasingly difficult as Subway got bigger and bigger in a relatively short time. One of the biggest mistakes the chain made in all this was insisting on opening locations too close to each other, so at some point, Subways were taking potential business away from other Subways. Send in the clown. There are little mishaps that are quickly forgotten, and then there are the mistakes that can haunt a company for a long time. Then there is the egregious advertisement that was meant to poke fun at McDonald's, but to many people, the image of the McDonald's golden arches morphed into a flat line seemed to make light of people dying. Let's be real and stipulate that Subway in no way intended to show a lack of empathy or respect for grieving families, but it doesn't absolve them from practicing spectacularly bad judgment. This is what sometimes happens when people are scrambling to outdo each other or break through all the noise and get noticed. This 2018 advertisement was panned by almost everyone, including advertising professionals and business outlets like Business Insider. With all the negative press, you would think the executives at the fast food chain would have gotten the message, but you'd be wrong.
Apparently somebody didn't get the memo.
In response to all the flack the advertisement generated, the company's chief advertising officer stood by the work. Inexplicably, the spokesman pretended that the feedback the company received had not been so negative after all. This seems like a case of willful blindness. When you're wrong, and Subway should have admitted it and quickly moved on, but instead came off sounding inconsiderate and tone-deaf to its customers, putting a footlong in their mouth.
A sub! A footlong hero! I want to live, Marge!
Subway's $5 footlong sub promotion was quite popular for a while, but it didn't remain a $5 promotion, and this has caused the sandwich chain a bit of indigestion. This promotion has been around since 2007 and has been popular with customers all along, but Subway seemed to go out of its way to make it into a problem. The problems began when the fast food chain changed it from a $5 footlong to a $6 footlong. As expected, this price increase did not go over well. The company was forced to explain that it was being forced to pass along increased costs to the consumer. This might have been the economic reality, but it didn't endear anyone to Subway. After a few years of customers grumbling, Subway announced in 2018 that it was going to bring back the $5 footlong with a twist.
Entitles you to $5 footlongs for life.
The twist was that Subway HQ wasn't going to require franchise locations to offer this price to its customers. This awkward policy resulted in a hit-or-miss situation in which some customers could find the classic deal, but others could not and were left frustrated. This was another ham-fisted decision from the sandwich giant that could have saved itself a lot of grief. All it had to do was take a little time to think through what it was doing before announcing it to the public. Yoga mats and Subway.
Weird combo to pick, but okay.
Subway found a way to step in it again in 2014 when a food blogger publicized the fact that the fast food chain's bread contains a chemical called azodicarbonamide. While this chemical may sound a little scary, it is actually a fairly common ingredient in foods and is used as a bleaching agent and a dough conditioner. Unfortunately, this chemical has also become somewhat infamous for being found in a whole host of products, such as yoga mats.
I would prefer it not in the bread.
This chemical is found in products also sold by chains like McDonald's and Starbucks. So why all the attention on Subway? This is a good question, but regardless, Subway's executives promised to get rid of the offending chemical and kept the public up to date on its efforts to do this. This sounds like a recipe for a public relations disaster. The other fast food chains somehow escaped the kind of scrutiny Subway endured, leaving Subway holding the bag to the extent that it is the only company associated with the offending chemical. There is probably a cautionary tale somewhere here about overreacting reacting to the demands of one person blogging on the internet. This is an overreaction that allowed a multi-million-dollar chain to become known as the one that was selling yoga mat bread to its customers. Subway drive-thru.
Don't ever go up to the drive-thru, okay? Always walk up to the counter.
Joe Pesci's character in Lethal Weapon 2 was not a fan of Subway's drive-thru because when they invariably gave you the wrong sandwich, you were already halfway home before you discovered the error. However, it seems that most customers would prefer the sandwich chain to have a lot more drive-thru stores. But Subway seems unwilling to go along with this. The convenience of the drive-thru window has long been a staple of fast food chains, so why has Subway seemingly resisted what has proven to be a very successful part of the industry?
Can blow that wall out, put the drive-thru there.
Although there was apparently at least one Subway in Los Angeles with a drive-thru in the late 1980s when Lethal Weapon 2 was filmed, as of 2017, only 10% or less than 2,500 Subways have a drive-thru window. The official story is that Subway executives have been concerned that ordering a fresh-made sandwich with a variety of toppings would prove problematic. But these issues aside, customers have made it clear they are willing to take the risk of getting too few pickles or too much lettuce on their spicy Italian subs. Why not give customers what they want, especially if it would be good for business? A measured approach at Subway.
As you can see, it is 11 inches.
Customers just assumed that when they ordered a foot-long sandwich, it actually measured a foot long. In 2013, a lawsuit against Subway revealed that Subway had perhaps not been producing a consistent product when it came to its bread. Some people claimed the bread was often 11 inches or even less. Was this just sloppiness, an oversight, or a way to save some money? This lawsuit was settled by Subway, and the fast food chain made an earnest promise to make the size of their bread as advertised.
We promise.
But the settlement was thrown out when an advocate group pointed out that the settlement really amounted to nothing. So the judge reconsidered and decided to throw the lawsuit out entirely without the issue being resolved, to probably zero people's satisfaction. Then, just when everyone was sick of this whole thing, Forbes magazine published a study that indicated that most Subway bread had been about 12 inches all along. There may have been some differences in length because of the shape of the bread, so it appears all of this was for nothing. One wonders if Subway knew enough about its own products, shouldn't it have defended itself in this way? Jared and a Subway collide.
String of commercials.
That's a lot of money.
With Jared from Subway?
For quite a while, the unassuming Jared Fogle seemed to be the right choice for the face of Subway's ad campaigns. It turned out the seemingly affable everyman could not have been more wrong for Subway. In fairness to the giant sandwich chain, the people who hired Fogle to help the company sell subs had no idea he would turn out to be a pedophile. However, at some point they knew, or should have known, something was seriously wrong. The company has been accused of knowing about Fogle's behavior or of failing to know what they should have known.
Hey kids, you want some candy?
Subway fired Fogle before he was arrested, but the timeline of what exactly the company knew and when they knew it is still murky.
Did you really do it? I mean, I think people are still sort of fascinated by that.
Fogle eventually pled guilty in federal court to possessing child pornography and traveling to pay to have sex with minors. Subway was criticized for what many perceived as a weak condemnation of the man. Clearly, Subway just wanted to be done with Fogle and was reluctant to continue to associate itself with him, even when it condemned him on social media. This was a debacle of epic proportions that hurt a lot of people, and 4 years later, this incident still haunts Subway.
Subway doesn't do conflict.
It's so easy to check out more of our great videos. Go ahead and just tap that screen, and show us some love by joining our notification squad. Hit that subscribe button and ring that bell if you're new to our channel.